Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we talk about nerd news topics that have dropped in the last week since our previous show last Tuesday, and get into all sorts of interesting discussions about some of the more interesting things in nerddom that you probably want to know about. Realistically, probably already do. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook and Instagram as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on Twitter, a couple of other places doing other things. We've got a decent roster. It's not particularly extensive, thankfully. So we'll probably get through this in about 40 minutes, folks, but we got all sorts of interesting stories to talk about this week. Before we get into the first story, we're going to do the first promo, and the first promo is about Twitch. If you have a Twitch account, our account is right there, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. We'd love to have you go there. We'd love to have you consider following us. Well, actually, we'd love to have you follow us. We'd certainly like it if you considered following us. And we're trying to grow our viewership on Twitch to the extent that we have a very interactive viewership on both Facebook Live and particularly YouTube Live. So please, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber if you are of a mind to. Luminous, welcome to the show. Luminous says, hello, all glad this is a slap-free zone. I cannot reach through the world of the internet to get to anybody. So yeah, I'm certainly not going to be, smacking myself in the face. And we're not going to weigh into that because it has nothing to do with nerddom, despite the fact that, Will Smith is obviously deeply involved in the world of nerd entertainment. But our first topic of actual news that is not related to slapping, as far as I know, this is an image from the upcoming very first Japanese anime based on the American web series Rwby. RWBY, pretty much pronounced Ruby by everybody. Even though the RWBY refers to the four main characters, Ruby, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. The news is that this year we will get, don't know exactly when, but we will get an actual anime version of these characters who currently are about, or just finished up their 8th series, volume they call it. So volume 8 just finished. In the computer graphics web graphic version of the web series. Well, Rooster Teeth, who is behind this, is working with Bandai Namco and Studio Shaft, so they picked a good studio, to create Rwby Ice Queendom. And we don't know when it'll drop. The trailer looks very interesting. They do a really good job of making a animated version of the generally considered rather plain animation that the web comic has, or the web series has. But still looking more like anime. So if you are a fan of Rwby in general, you should probably check this out. Frankly, I'm going to watch it because I really can't stand the animation of the current running, US-produced Western version. The voice actors in the Japanese anime look to be a pretty solid group. Hayami Saori is going to be Rwby, the main character, and also, I believe they said, performing the title song. But the English dub will be using all of the existing voice actors for the main Western original Rwby web series. Lindsay Jones as Ruby Rose, Kara Eberly as Vaishni, Aaron Zek as Blake Belladonna, and Barbara Dunkelman as Yang Xiaolong. So they're all going to be doing their same character voices for the English dub of the Japanese anime, which is very good. I can't imagine them making any other decision, frankly. So if you're a fan, check out the trailer. It looks very exciting. The story seems to be, and again, I haven't watched more than 3 or 4 episodes of any season or volume of Rwby, but the story seems to be basically the story of the first volume. These 4 people meeting and basically coming together in the academy where they're being trained to be these huntresses. What other details are different? I don't know, again, because I don't watch the series. But, again, sometime in 2022. It's coming up this year. So, stay tuned for more information on that. All right, our next topic, going from, boy, that was cool, to, geez, I mean, can they just stop, please? So, of course, from Overwatch, famous Blizzard game, and yes, Activision Blizzard is getting hammered once again, pun intended, with a lawsuit claiming sexual harassment. So this new lawsuit is being brought by a woman who is currently an employee in Blizzard's IT department. It's being brought against primarily the IT department, known only as Ms. Doe. They don't even go to a Jane Doe, just Ms. Doe. Apparently this information came out in a press conference in December, but she is now suing because she is also alleging retaliation because of her statement about the fact that, you know, this sexual harassment, which she says includes unwanted advances, touching, and inappropriate remarks. So retaliation has occurred. And you would think, okay, well, you know, this might be tough to prove. If what she's saying here in her court filing is true, so apparently she was passed over for a promotion, which is going to be very difficult to prove that was a matter of retaliation unless you've got internal emails saying so from the other side. However, in January, the company apparently, she says, lied in an email to other employees. So they sent out an employee saying that she had been fired. And she claims this is a, quote, relentless effort to push her out. At the beginning of February, Activision Blizzard hired 2 new employees, temporary employees, to do her work while she's still employed at the company. So if those 2 things are true, they sent out an email saying she has been fired when she hadn't, and then hired people to do her work when she was still an employee in the IT department. It kind of might sound a little bit like trying to push her out in retaliation. So, yeah, this is just stupid. So, other than Activision Blizzard, individual names are the former Chief Technology Officer Ben Kilgore, former Chief Information Officer Derek Ingalls, and former Director of IT Mark Skarupa. So those first 2, Kilgore and Ingalls, came from Microsoft prior to going to Blizzard. Skarupa went to Microsoft and is currently a Microsoft employee. This is before Microsoft's $68.7 billion buy of Activision Blizzard has been approved and has closed. So, yeah, Microsoft, this isn't looking good. I mean, they're going to close the deal. If they're willing to pay $69 billion for a company, they obviously think that company is going to bring them well more than $69 billion over the course of years. But it also is going to cost them. There's just no way around it. Unless this thing gets settled before the deal closes, you know, and then it's going to cost Blizzard, in which case Microsoft is paying even more for a company that is valued less. So it's just messy. It's going to keep getting messy. It's going to get messier, and we're just going to keep paying attention to what happens, because this is one of those news stories that just keeps on giving. Giving isn't the right way to put it. That keeps on stinking, I guess is the better way to put it. And we're going to be smelling it for months, if not years. Glad to be off that topic. And on to this. Just Byron unfortunately could not be on tonight, and this is so up his alley, but I'm going to try to do my best. We just found out yesterday, that there is a new RPG, a video game coming based on One Piece called One Piece Odyssey. This is screenshots from the trailer, and it's a perfect example of the art style. A really interesting blend of cell shading art and 3D, almost toy-like. It's really interesting. I do not watch the anime One Piece. I've never read any of the manga. It has been around for too long, and having more than 1,000 chapters in the manga, I ain't about to start. Not going to happen. I know so many people who are absolutely obsessed with this, are super fans of One Piece, and apparently there's good reason. And most of that has to do with the mangaka, Oda-san, and guess what? This will have a story, a brand new story, written by Oda Eiichiro. I'm going to butcher his name anyway. Just for this game. So, I mean, completionists of One Piece anyway are going to buy it. And this isn't the first One Piece game. There were tons of One Piece games out there based on the One Piece IP. This is probably one of the first that has a brand new story written by the guy that created the manga. And certainly is one of the most creative looking. The gameplay style, it looks really good. Fairly typical RPG, moving through the world, climbing up vines, up cliffs, and, different attacks and combos and things like that. So, I'm not a big one. Again, don't watch the anime. Don't read the manga. I would probably play this. Looks really cool. This is also coming at some point in 2022 to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. We don't know when. The company behind it is ILCA. So this is a studio that did the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes. They also did Dragon Quest XI and Nier Replicant. It's a game studio with some chops. So looking forward to it. And interesting, right out of the gate, if you watch the trailer, their ship, the Thousand Sunny, is almost completely sunk, which I don't know anything other than what I've read and videos I've watched about it, about One Piece, but I look at that and go, I know that ship is not supposed to be like that. So even I got grabbed right out of the gate. It's a really good trailer. So they find in the story, the Straw Hats, the pirates, Luffy's Straw Hats, find a mysterious island that they have to explore. So looks really interesting. I'm probably going to give it a shot if I can, get like a review copy or beta access or something like that. I don't buy full price games because I'm a cheap Mainer at heart, Yankee, skinflint, thrifty, whatever. But I am looking forward to it. All right, moving on to the next topic. That all the way to the right there is, of course, Stephen Colbert. This is from the amazing rap video, #1 Trilly. The video, he and a huge bunch of the cast members and some awesome guest stars of the Lord of the Rings trilogy made just a few months ago. The news is that Colbert is going to be once again working with Critical Role to raise money in a live stream campaign coming up this April. It's called Choose Stephen Colbert's Adventure Again. Fans will donate money to influence certain aspects of this. It's a one-shot adventure that will be DM'd by Matthew Mercer, the DM of the Critical Role team. And the donations will go to Red Nose Day, the campaign that raises funds for to ensure a healthy future for all children. according to this article. April 28th, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So kind of late for us, but that's okay. And the reason I picked that image is because, Colbert is such a nerd, and I wanted to pick the nerdiest image I could. And I don't know that I could probably have found an image of the last time he played D&D with a Critical Role team. But this one was right there. And it gets me to reference that, which is one of the funniest videos I've ever seen, to say nothing of one of the nerdiest videos I've ever seen. So the official Tiltify.com is where the charity donation website that they're using to raise the money. So Tiltify.com, you can just search for Critical Role, or it's at Critical Role, so it's under their page. So donations are already open and will remain live until April 1st. So if you want to help out, so apparently you have to donate early enough so that they can choose the adventure, even though it won't happen live until April 28th, you only have 2 days. So if you do want to participate in this, go to Tiltify.com and help out these kids and be part of the adventure. All right, our next topic is about the upcoming series Gotham Knights, and they have been pretty stingy about any announcements about casting or anything, or even what characters are in it, and we finally have both 2 in this past week casting announcements and 2 characters that we know will be in it. So the biggest name on the right there is Misha Collins, as here as Castiel from Supernatural. Misha Collins has been cast to play Harvey Dent, Two-Face, in the upcoming CW series Gotham Knights. And the person on the left here is young actress Anna Lore, who has been cast as, and boy does this picture look right, Stephanie Brown. Now, these are both 2 different websites, 2 different articles. The one about Misha Collins doesn't say what Harvey Dent's role will be in this. So primarily the story, as we've talked about before, is that the show, they put it here, begins with a mysterious murder of the Cape Crusader. Blame is ascribed to the children of Gotham City's most notorious rogues gallery. But Bruce Wayne's adopted son, again, they're not even saying who this is, isn't so sure of their guilt and joins up with criminal youngsters, in an effort to see that justice is delivered to the real killer. So Stephanie Brown is not a criminal, and their description of Stephanie, as this is from the people who are making the show, with sarcasm matched only by her intellect, Stephanie was raised on a steady diet of brain teasers and puzzles. She's honed her skills to become a formidable coder, but her greatest talent might be hiding a less than perfect home life. I don't know that they're going to be giving her, and again, I don't recall that Stephanie Brown has a criminal parent. But I don't know that they're going to try to make that. I don't see any reason why they would try to make that a thing, which means that she would be another character other than the children of criminals. Now, the existence of Harvey Dent in this series implies the existence of Duella Dent, his daughter, and that would be awesome. And I wonder if that's the way they're going to go forward with these announcements, that they're going to announce a villain, which gets us speculating as to whether or not, from the actual comic book canon, that villain's child is going to be in the upcoming series. I was interested initially in hearing about this series. It's now really got me interested. Stephanie Brown has always been one of my absolute favorites, whether she was Robin, Batgirl, or Spoiler. If you don't know, Spoiler is a character, a crime fighter she takes the persona of. In fact, is how she's first introduced as a character before she becomes either Robin or Batgirl. That's not a spoiler warning. Her character name is Spoiler. So I'm looking forward to this. It could be very interesting. Getting Misha Collins is a very smart marketing move on their part. That is automatically going to at least get the Supernatural superfans to check it out. Whether or not they stick around, what crossover in the Venn diagram between Supernatural fans and Batman lore fans there are, who knows? But that's a smart move on their part. I don't know anything about Anna Lore. They credit her as having from something called All American. Oh yeah, the series All American. So yeah, looking forward to this. Again, we've talked about this series before. I don't know when it's going to hit the airwaves or the streaming waves of CW. My guess is 2023 fall season at the very earliest, probably 2024, since they're just announcing casting. But we'll stay on it. Moving on to our next topic. This is the giant robot made up of robotic lions, Voltron, defender of the universe. And the news is that the guy who made the Netflix movie Red Notice, or as they call it here in Hollywood Reporter, the Netflix hit, technically it was, Red Notice, is going to be co-writing and directing a planned live-action Voltron movie. Produced by Todd Lieberman and David Hoberman, World Events Productions' Bob Koplar, and they're apparently shopping this thing out. And according to the Hollywood Reporter, there's a bidding war going on right now. Warner Brothers, Universal, Amazon, and at least a handful of others are all trying to get their hands on this thing. It could be done. It could be done well. The guy who wrote and directed Red Notice, I'm not sure is going to do it well. Who knows? Who knows, how the story is going to develop. Are they going to get 5 unknowns, or is it going to be, Ryan Reynolds forms the head and, everybody else who knows who they are and who cares. Ryan Reynolds is not attached to this whatsoever as far as I know. That was just an observation. And a kind of a reference to MC Frontalot's I'll Form the Head, which is a great song about giant robots. Go listen to it. Watch the video. So, again, this just announced that it's happening and is being shopped out to studios. So, absolutely no idea when, if this will even happen. This early in, the production cycle of something like this, it could still go through multiple studios dropping it, iterations. This could be 10 years out or never happen. Or it could be, a few years from now because Amazon buys it and just goes, loco and wants to absolutely do it and throws, Lord of the Rings of Power money at it. Any of that is true. Or Netflix. Apparently Netflix was a huge enough hit that Red Notice was a huge enough hit that Netflix has, I believe, given the go-ahead for a sequel. So maybe Netflix will be involved, although according to this article, that is not one of the ones that this reporter has heard is in the bidding war. So, hey, Voltron, live action. Could happen. They made Pacific Rim. They can do giant robot movies that look good. You want a dark, gritty-looking Voltron when, he's supposed to be primary colors? We'll have to see. And again, no idea whether they're going to go dark and gritty. Red Notice certainly wasn't that. Moving on to our next topic. Speaking of casting, I have these backwards. We'll do this one then. That is Richard Rider, the original Nova from the comic book series Nova that started in 1976, or the character was introduced in 1976. The news is, according to an exclusive from deadline, so we don't know for sure, that Marvel is going to be making a Nova project that is going to be written by Sabir Pirzada, who wrote Moon Knight, but they don't know whether or not it will be a feature film or a limited series on Disney+. But, of course, because it's MCU and it's, on one of those, probably on one of those, Kevin Feige is going to be producing it. Nova is... So we've seen the Nova Corps in Guardians of the Galaxy's movies, primarily the first one. We also know that in the MCU timeline, the Nova Corps' home planet, and where this group of sort of galactic police force is based, Xandar, has been destroyed by Thanos. That's how we got the Power Stone. So, where they take that, who knows. But Nova, interestingly enough, Richard Rider, because there's a kid Nova, basically, a young Nova, Sam Alexander, whose father was also part of the Nova Corps. Real easy to tell he's, the size of a teenager instead of the super jacked Richard Rider image that, we're seeing there. And Sam has a black helmet, one of the last existing helmet of what was called the Supernova Corps. So apparently the helmets do an awful lot to control their powers. An awful lot of what the Guardians of the Galaxy had as flavor in their first two movies actually happened in the Nova comics. So Ryder discovered Nowhere, that giant celestial head that's floating out there in space and has an enormous city inside it. Ryder discovered and teamed up with, even though there's been no team up with this, but Cosmo, the dog that we see in the first Guardians movie, who's obviously a cosmonaut, a Russian dog, that has become sentient and is telepathic. Ryder is involved an awful lot with things around the Thanos universe and stuff that's going to be happening in Guardians 3, namely Warlock, Adam Warlock. Ryder, as Nova, has been involved in conflicts. Leader, welcome to the show. It's not slap free. If you can figure out a way to reach through the internet and do some slapping, go right ahead. Otherwise, it's pretty much confined to wherever you're located. So slap whatever you want. Just saying. So it'll be interesting to see how they take that fact that an awful lot of the stuff already exists and has been done by the Guardians. And Nova has worked, Richard Rider's Nova has worked with members of the Guardians, Drax, Gamora, Quill, Rocket. Rocket helped Sam Alexander figure out his powers. So there's already a deep, deep connection there. He also is one of, as you can tell by the image, and the Nova Corps being the space police. So basically, and nobody's ever going to, I'm sure somebody has said it, but I don't know that anybody who created, like Marv Wolfman, who created the character, is going to say that the Nova Corps was created in 1976 to basically, be their version of the Green Lantern Corps. But, it's a bunch of super-powered space cops that fly around throughout the galaxy. So, and made up of various, different races or species. Not nearly as wide and varied as the Green Lantern Corps. I mean, there are things in the Green Lantern Corps that don't look like they could possibly communicate with anything remotely humanoid, but they do. So that's the sort of genesis one assumes of the Nova Corps. And so their stories are all really, galactic scale cosmic stories. And that works really well with where they're going with Captain Marvel. It seems like they are and they have the Skrulls, and obviously something's going on with the Skrulls with Secret Invasion. they seem to be setting up a really big, and of course they've got it with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but a really big space-based version of stories to be told in the MCU, in addition to the Earthbound stories, with most of the other Avengers who, aside from Thor, aren't really super powered. Captain Marvel is insanely powerful. Nova is insanely powerful. Binary or Photon or whatever they're going to be calling Monica Rambeau is insanely powerful. So it'll be interesting to see where they take this group of ridiculously powered people. So that's it there. We don't know for sure when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. Again, this is a single source story from Deadline, but I wouldn't doubt it. Also, a single source story from Deadline, and I really hope this is true as well. This is Sharon Stone in one of her most recent roles, the HBO series Mosaic. And Deadline is reporting that Sharon Stone is going to be cast as the villain in the upcoming Blue Beetle movie, and that her character is a currently not existing character, but you're going to recognize the name, Victoria Cord. They're reporting that Victoria Cord is going to be the wife of Ted Cord, and Ted Cord is, of course, the Blue Beetle previous to Jaime Reyes, who is going to be the Blue Beetle in the upcoming movie. So that could mean they're setting up the, assuming Ted is dead, as he is in the actual DC canon, that could mean that they're setting up this new character, his wife, Victoria, as the head of Cord Industries, and the villain trying to, either get whatever technology Jaime has, which means it implies that it's not going to be sort of an alien beetle-like symbiote, which is what Jaime's version of Blue Beetle is, as opposed to Ted Cord's, which is all technology. Leader, do I have any faith in Morbius? The movie, I get faith in what sense? That it'll be good? Not particularly. That it'll be interesting? It's got so many connections to the MCU Sony Spider-Man universe with Scorpion, with Vulture, and so on, that it's got to be interesting. There's no question about that. Good? Yeah, I wouldn't hold out for good. But then again, realistically, Venom and, Venom Let There Be Carnage weren't good. They were interesting. And certainly Venom was worth watching. I haven't seen Let There Be Carnage yet, although I do have it on rental. I'll have to get around to watching that sometime soon. But Morbius. I loved Morbius when he was introduced in Amazing Spider-Man 101, I think. And I've liked the character since then. But as a movie. Jared Leto doesn't do a lot for me anymore. I loved some of his earlier stuff, but all the reports of what he was like making Suicide Squad and his take on Joker, which, I didn't hate as much as a lot of people, but it was just, not great. So I'm not that interested in seeing it. I may... but anyway, getting back to Victoria Cord, if that is in fact who this character is going to be, and if it is in fact going to be Sharon Stone playing it, this movie is just getting better and better. It already was locked in with the representation, of Latin actors and creatives. So Zola Maranduena is going to be playing Jaime Reyes. Other George Lopez, Adriana Barraza, Harvey Guillen, Bruna Marquezine, Damian Alcazar, Belissa Escobedo, Elpidia Carrillo are all stars. And Angel Manuel Soda is going to be directing. So that alone it's like, I've always been very excited about the fact that they leaned that heavily into the representation for this character, who is in fact a young Latin superhero. I'm looking forward to it even more if this turns out to be true. Because you just gotta love Sharon Stone as a villain, just so good. All right, our next story. Governor Ron DeSantis signed the Don't Say Gay bill into law yesterday. Yesterday. And Disney came right out with a statement condemning it. We'll give you a couple of sentences. The first sentence is Florida's HB 1557, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, should never have passed and should never have been signed into law. Our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts, and we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. So that sounds on the surface like really good news, that Disney has turned around and smartened up. We don't know what they mean by supporting those organizations working to achieve either a repeal or a court overturn. Whether that is simply donating to them, whether that is providing any kind of other resources to get this to happen. But let's be real. This isn't what anybody other than Disney's PR damage control department believes at the top level. Bob Chapek made it 100% clear when he said that they don't get involved in issues of law in Florida, and they prefer to let their content speak about their policies around LGBTQ plus issues, which is so bald-faced a lie that it just blows my mind that he said it. It's in public donation records that they have been donating hundreds of thousands of dollars per campaign to Florida state legislatures, one assumes for the obvious benefit of having influence in laws that affect Disney World. From wetlands zoning laws to entertainment restrictions to who knows what. So to say that they don't get involved in influencing legislation and let their is a lie. Clearly has been a lie since it was started, since Disney World was first conceived, frankly. So if he said that about this particular piece of legislation, which is such an obvious lie, then clearly it's that he had absolutely no interest in even dealing with any sort of support or commentary on the legislation. And of course, that turned around and bit him hard in the ass. His own employees, subdivisions within Disney, fans of Disney, all raked him over the coals over that. He's tried to walk it back. He's tried to make commitments to change. And now this statement seems to imply that they are on the right side of justice here and are working to repeal it. Once you tell us how you're doing that and show us demonstrably that you are, in fact, working with organizations that are either going to try to get this repealed or overturned in the courts, then I'll believe it. Until then, it is PR damage control. So, good for them to say it. Prove it. So, and we're going to, again, this is another story that we're just going to keep, covering in all kinds of aspects, whether it's around any other entertainment or nerd-related company that works in Florida that might want to get on the bandwagon. big conventions, and so on, to help get this absolutely moronic law overturned. And by the way, I got a knock Gizmodo for this, the writer, for putting it this way, but it's refreshing that Disney has finally said something strong and assertive about the legislation which bans teachers from discussing sexual orientation and gender identity in school, period. And that is true from kindergarten up to third grade, which they don't mention here. Now, that doesn't make it any better, but I'm a big proponent of clarity in journalism. Be clear about exactly what this legislation does. What they don't say in here is that the legislation is so ridiculously broadly written that if it doesn't get overturned in courts, which it probably will because it's so badly written, there are a lot of organizations out there that are just waiting for, some teacher to talk about heterosexual sexual identity in grades 3 or below and sue that school because they'll do it. Because the law doesn't say anything about talking about non-heterosexual sexual identity. It says sexual identity. So the minute you talk about, Bobby's parents are a man and a woman, lawsuit. Based on the way the law is written. So yeah, we'll be keeping on this, and we'll see who else jumps in and see whether or not Disney actually puts money where its mouth is, or if it's just all mouth at this point. Mouth, not mouse. All right, our last topic, and thank God we're off of that. If you didn't see this, I don't know what you were paying attention to. This is the one and only teaser image that was dropped by CD Projekt Red when they announced that they are, in fact, working on a new Witcher game. And as it says right down there below, a new saga begins, which means it's A, probably multiple games, maybe a new Witcher trilogy, and B, it's a new saga, a new story, which means it's probably not involving Geralt or anybody else from the previous 3 games. The previous 3 games were Geralt's story, and this could be somebody else's story. All sorts of theories out there about what this image means. The medallion is clearly a lynx. The School of the Lynx does not exist in canon in either Andrei Sapkowski's works or stories and books or the games. It is a incredibly popular fan fiction creation. But that's definitely a lynx. I mean, there's no question about that. That isn't, that is not just a cat. It is a lynx. And it's in the snow. So is the game set in winter? Is the game set in the snowy mountains to the north in like Kovir or someplace like that? Well, I don't think it could be set in the White Frost. I guess spoilers for The Witcher 3, but in every ending, good, bad, or indifferent, the White Frost is stopped. So that's never an issue. Whatever happens to Geralt, whatever happens to Ciri, in whatever ending you wind up achieving, the White Frost is no longer an issue. So that doesn't seem to be what this is implying. And certainly one of the endings that you can get in the Witcher 3, the denouement at the end, takes place in regular winter. And even though the games usually aren't set in winter, seasons happen, and normal seasons happen, not like Game of Thrones, Westeros winters happen. Regular winters happen, spring, summer, etc., fall. Leader, will you be tossing a coin to your Witcher? I will not. Um, in the Netflix series, Jaskier, I mean, brilliantly acted, and I'm guessing in a lot of cases ad-libbed work. But they write him to be annoying, and boy is he annoying. Boy is that song overplayed. The leader, is this Zombie Leader? By the way, I hope to see you at a convention this year. Likewise. Absolutely likewise. And if it's not Zombie Leader, if you don't want to give out information, that's fine. But you could maybe tell me something about some way that I would be able to identify who you are. So we don't know. There's a lot of speculation that this might be a continuation of series story as a Witcher. But again, that means that CD Projekt Red would have to lock in one of the endings of The Witcher 3. And they would have to say, okay, this is the one that actually happened. Which kind of negates all the other endings that you can possibly achieve in The Witcher 3 if this is going to be, some continuation of series story. So right now there's just so much speculation out there about what this could be. They haven't said anything. They have confirmed that this is a Lynx, by the way. They did say that this is a medallion from the School of the Lynx. We have no idea when this is going to happen. I'm trying to look for any other information here. That's pretty much it. Well, the teaser that we used, this is actually the real Distro Burner account. All right, cool. Well, welcome to the show. You have burner accounts just like Trump has burner phones. Except he's never heard of them. He has no idea what they are. Despite the fact that his lawyer, they picked up 16 of them when they raided his house, and his other lawyer, they picked up 18 when they raided his house. But, he has no idea what burner phones are. Anyway. So, one of the big announcements they made here is that the Witcher games were built on CD Projekt's own graphics engine called the Red Engine. And with this announcement, they said they are teaming up with Epic Games to use Unreal Engine 5, which I am very excited about. By the time this game comes out, which is probably going to be 4 to 6 years, I think it took them 4 years to develop the last one, and Unreal Engine 5 is brand new and it's not developed internally. Now, the fact that it exists and it's based on existing Unreal Engine 4 and prior, means that there's an awful lot of technology already out there for CD Projekt Red to just pick up and start creating assets and doing design work. So maybe it'll put that turnaround time on the lower end, or maybe even less. But we all know what happened the last time they rushed a game. Cyberpunk 2077, was a mess when it came out on many platforms. And Unreal Engine right now is essentially untried as far as actual released AAA games. The only thing they have out are all sorts of really cool-looking demos. So we'll have to see where they go with it, how their development pace works. I would like to be on the optimistic side and say that because there's so many existing tools for Unreal Engine versions already out there, that the actual game development and asset development and so on can move along quickly. But I don't know that. I also don't know that I actually have a computer that can handle this. My CPU is pretty good, but I'd have to jump up from 16 gigs to 32 gigs of memory, I'm sure, and I'd really have to jump up my my GPU, which is 2 generations ago. So, yeah, if it's on Unreal Engine 5 and I want to play it in the kind of beautiful fidelity that with mods I can now play Witcher 3, I'm guessing It gives me 4 years to, figure out how to buy a GPU that can handle it. But anyway, that's it, folks. We'll keep on with this story and all the others that will be needing updating. That's it for us tonight. If you do happen to want to visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/nerdcaliber, as it says right there on the URL that's on your screen, we'd love to have you go and check it out. If you go there and you decide you want to be a patron, boy, would we be really happy. We only have 3 tiers. Our lowest one is $2. Basically, we take that money and we use it to go to more cons, now that cons are coming back, and get more content for the website, for here, YouTube, for our other channels. Now, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Upcoming this Thursday, our full fat spoiler chat is Spider-Man No Way Home. So if you have not seen it, it's out there on video on demand, folks. It's time to go watch it. We will be covering it in depth, which is why the show is called Full Fat Spoiler Chat. We have to talk spoilers. Next Monday is Anime Octane. An awful lot of the winter season anime are wrapping up this week. Already, I think 4 that I've been watching have reached their conclusion. So we'll probably be talking about one or maybe some of those, but we haven't got it pinned down yet. We're still figuring out which one ones we actually want to address in next Monday's Anime Octane. So we'll see you at one of those upcoming shows. Hopefully we will, in fact, Leader, see you at an upcoming convention. We will be at April 9th. We'll be at Wicked Comic-Con at the Westin Waterfront in South Boston. Downstairs in the main hallway that's in front of the ballroom. We'll be all the way at the end. The April 21st through 24th, we will be at the BCEC, connected to the Westin, for PAX East. On Saturday of that, so it'd be the 23rd, at 7:30 at night, our cosplay and photography shootout panel event is happening in the Arachnid Theater. If you're a cosplayer or a photographer and you want to participate, just show up plenty early so we can sign you up. And if you're not and you just want to watch a bunch of cosplayers and photographers run around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to make really amazing pictures in a really short amount of time, then be there. That's where to be. And end of May, I will be running the photo department at Anime Boston. So Nerd Caliber will be in the cosplay photography suite in room 102, as well as the press department side of Nerd Caliber will be out running around the convention doing its normal thing. If you want your regular Nerd Caliber free cosplay photos, studio quality cosplay photos, come to the studio. Those photos that we generate there as part of Anime Boston, working in conjunction with Anime Boston, will go up on both Nerd Caliber's website and Anime Boston's website. So it will be almost no different than what you would do if you were getting photos from us for free out in the community row, which is where we usually have a table, or Anime Boston for free in their photo studio suite. Room 102. So we'll see you then. Having said that, please stay safe out there, folks. We'll see you at an upcoming show.